Here comes the next question. There must have been about 20 cars outside the house. This is a wrong expression, and the correct expression is there must have been over 20 cars outside the house. Remember, when we mean more than, we normally use over. For example, over 2 weeks, over 20 pages, etc. And when we mean higher than a particular level, we can normally use either over or above. For example, temperatures over or above 100 degrees. And there is one more example, children over or above the age of 8. So remember, when you refer to something that is more than, you have to use over, and in case if you are referring to something which is higher than a particular level, use above or over. The next example. Anyone absent at work has to get a medical certificate. This is also a wrong expression, and the correct one is anyone absent from work has to get a medical certificate. We say that someone is absent from class or from school or from work, etc. Here the rule is absent is followed by from, not at. And the next statement is a car can be absolutely useful when you are in a hurry. This is a wrong expression, and the correct one is a car can be very useful when you are in a hurry. Remember, we use absolutely before adjectives which already contain very as part of their meaning. For example, absolutely awful. See, actually awful means very bad. And let's look at one more example. Absolutely fascinating. See, fascinating is equal to very interesting. Okay, so the rule here is we use absolutely before adjectives which already have very as part of their meaning, and with other adjectives we use very or extremely. Fine. The next one. According to me, all nuclear weapons should be destroyed. Can you find what's wrong with this statement? Yes, we do not say according to me, we say in my opinion. Okay, and remember, we use according to refer to others. For example, according to you, according to her, according to him, and according to them, but not according to me or according to us. We use according to report to another person's opinion or statement, not to our own. Remember this. Next one. She accused me for not telling the truth. And this is a wrong one. The correct expression is she accused me of not telling the truth. Remember that the verb accuse is always followed by OF of. Fine? Done. And the next one is it took her a long time to accustom to living here. And the correct expression is it took her a long time to accustom herself to living here. Remember, when we use accustom, it should be followed by a reflexive pronoun. Herself, himself, themselves, okay, itself, ourselves, yourself. These are all reflexive pronouns. So please do remember, accustom is actually followed by reflexive pronouns. Or you can also say it took her a long time to get accustomed to living here. Okay, so note that accustomed to is used mainly in formal styles, and in informal styles we say get used to. Okay, they both mean the same, get accustomed to or get used to, but get accustomed to is more formal than get used to. Okay, for example, I'm not used to having so much free time. Okay, done. Here is the next one. I am very interested in problems caused by pollution. There is one more. It was such a bored film that I fell asleep. Can you find what's wrong with these two sentences? Yes, these two sentences are wrong, and the correct expressions are I am very interested in problems caused by pollution, and the other one is it was such a boring film that I fell asleep. So you need to remember that the two participle forms of a verb are often used as adjectives, ed form and the ing form. Okay, And remember that ed is actually used, okay, to describe how someone feels. For example, by the end of the trip, I felt completely exhausted. So here in exhausted, I have used the third form of the verb as an adjective, and this is used to describe how I feel. Okay, and remember the ing form, it describes the person or thing that causes the feeling. For example, it was an exhausting trip. So when I say it was an exhausting trip, I'm actually referring to how the trip is. Okay, and here ing is used to describe the person or thing that causes a particular feeling. Okay, so understand the difference. Okay, understand the difference. When I say I am very interested, so ed is used to describe how I feel. And when I say it was such a boring film, it's not about how I feel, but it's about how the movie was. Okay, it was a boring movie. Done. The next one. Gas is usually more cheap than electricity. This is a wrong statement, and the correct expression is gas is usually cheaper than electricity. Remember that most one-syllable adjectives form their comparatives and superlatives with er or est. My brother is younger than I am. This is an example of one-syllable adjective, younger, young actually, and that is followed by er. Okay, look at these examples: cheap, cheaper, cheapest. And you have rich, richer, richest, strong, stronger, and strongest. So I have converted the positive forms of adjectives into comparative and superlative by adding er and est. Cheap has been converted into comparative by adding er, cheaper, and into superlative by adding est, that is cheapest. But participles, okay, used as adjectives or exceptions. We do not say intelligent, intelligenter, and intelligentest. We say intelligent, more intelligent, and most intelligent. Okay, creative, more creative, and most creative. And also words like beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful. We don't say beautiful, beautifuler, and beautifulest. So understand the difference. Okay, so here in this particular given statement, more cheap, already you have got cheap, cheap, which has got a comparative form cheaper followed by cheapest, which is the superlative. So here, since it has cheaper as a comparative form, we need to use it to express the comparison here. Okay, so more cheap is wrong, and that should be replaced by cheaper. And the next one is, he is one of the most rudest men that I have ever met. There is one more sentence. The medicine made me feel much more better. Can you find what's wrong with these sentences? These two sentences are wrong, and the correct expressions are, he is one of the rudest men I have ever met. The medicine made me feel much better. Remember, we do not use an er-est form and more and most forms together. Rudest is a superlative form and is not used with most. Same is the case with better. Better is a comparative form and is not used with more. So when you use rudest with most, it makes the sense, like it will be double superlative. And the same is with better plus more. When we use better along with more, it becomes, double comparative. So you need to avoid double superlatives and double comparatives in the usage. It's not correct. Fine. The next one. Yeah, it is oldest university in Hyderabad. It's a wrong statement, and the correct expression is, it is the oldest university in Hyderabad. Remember, before a superlative adjective, we normally use the or a possessive determiner. So what are possessive determiners? My, her, his, their, your. These are all possessive determiners. So before superlative degrees, we should use either the or possessive determiners. For example, she is the youngest girl in the class, or this is the tallest building in Delhi. When I say this is the tallest building in Delhi, tallest is the superlative degree, and this degree is preceded by the. And the other example is, have you read his latest novel? So here his is a possessive determiner that is followed by the superlative degree latest. So remember this rule, you need to use either the or possessive determiners before superlative degrees. Next one. My most favorite subject is history. There is one more example. Cheap products are often more inferior. So what's wrong with these two sentences? These two statements are wrong, and the correct expressions are, my favorite subject is history. Cheap products are often inferior. So remember, some adjectives are not normally used either with er or est or with more or most forms, because they have a comparative and also superlative meaning already. Someone's favorite subject, for example, is the one that they like the most. Okay, so when I say this is my favorite subject, this is something that I like the most. So I don't really need to use a superlative degree before an adjective called favorite. Words which attract this type of error include complete, equal, favorite, ideal, inferior, perfect, superior, unique, okay, ideal. Remember that all these adjectives are not generally used with comparative or superlative forms. Fine. And the next one is, Singapore is cleaner than Hong Kong, but Hong Kong is the most interesting. Can you find what's wrong with this one? The correct expression is, Singapore is cleaner than Hong Kong, but Hong Kong is more interesting. Remember, when we compare just two people or things, we use er or more, especially in formal styles, and we use est and most for more than two. Okay, so if only two persons or places or things are compared, we should always use comparative degree, like richer, stronger, colder, sharper, bigger, or more. And when more than two people or persons are compared, things are compared, we should use superlative degrees: richest, strongest, tallest, bravest, and also most. Fine. And the next one is, some ill people refuse to take medicine. Look at this example. Some ill people refuse to take medicine. Can you find what's wrong with this statement? This is wrong, and the correct expression is, some sick people refuse to take medicine. Some sick people. So why is this statement wrong? This is wrong because most adjectives can be used before a noun or after a linking verb. For example, look at this example. She has long, beautiful, or black hair. She has long hair, or she has beautiful hair, or she has black hair. So here, hair is the noun, and the adjectives that we have used before hair are long, beautiful, and black. They can be used before a noun as well as after a linking verb. Look at the other example. Her hair is long, beautiful, or black. So these adjectives can be used before nouns or also after linking verbs. However, some adjectives can be used only in one of these positions. For example, we can say the boy was alone. Okay, the boy was alone, but not the alone boy. Here boy is missing. Please write down, the boy was alone, but not the alone boy. And same is the other example, the main road, but not the road main. Okay, clear? So you need to know these adjectives. There are some adjectives which are either never or seldom used before nouns. For example, afraid, alight, alike, alive, alone, ashamed, asleep, awake, aware, content, glad, ill, lit, ready, sorry, sure, upset, well, etc. All these adjectives are used before nouns. Okay, and there are also adjectives which are never or seldom used after a linking verb. For example, chief, drunken, elder, lighted, little, main, and principal. So these adjectives are often used after a linking verb. Okay, they are not generally used before the nouns. So you need to know the difference. So the point here is there are some adjectives that can be used before nouns and also after linking verbs, but there are only a few but there are some nouns that can be used only before nouns, and there are some adjectives that can be used only after linking verbs. So make a list of all these adjectives and try to go through this rule very carefully, because this is one of the most confusing points that we often fail to recognize in the exams. So make a note of all these points and go through them thoroughly so as to perform well in the exams. Next point. And the next question is, the only thing that was damaged was the window of the opposite shop. This is the wrong one. And the correct expression is, the only thing that was damaged was the window of the shop opposite. So here you need to know there are certain adjectives which are always used immediately after a noun. Look at this list: concerned, involved, opposite, present, and responsible. All these adjectives are immediately used after a noun. However, these adjectives can also be used before the nouns, but then the meaning would be different. Look at this example. The agreement was signed by everyone present. My present contract ends in September. In these two examples, I have used an adjective called present, but the position of present is different in both the examples. In the first sentence, when I say the agreement was signed by everyone present, I am referring to the people who were present at a particular place. Okay? But in the second example, when I say my present contract ends in September, so here this adjective present is defining the noun called contract. I'm speaking about the present contract, not the past or the one that I'm going to do in future. Fine. So observe these two sentences carefully and understand the difference in terms of meaning. Okay, fine. The next one. And the next one is, most of the visited government schools have very modern facilities. This is a wrong statement, and the correct expression is, most of the government schools visited have very modern facilities. Remember, when a past participle refers more to an action than to a state, it normally comes after the noun. If you look at this example, most of the government schools that we visited. So here our emphasis is more on an action than on a state. So we should use the adjective after the noun but not before the noun. Okay, in case if we are referring more to a state than an action, then it should be before a noun. Look at this example: a retired sales manager. Here we are giving more information about sales manager. Okay, who is he? He's a retired sales manager. So here retired is used to give more information about sales manager. That means my emphasis is more on a state than an action. Okay, so please make notes of all these points and prepare well and perform well in the exams. Thank you so much.